Texas, the Alamo has a very special place in my heart. And so because I love this story so much, I want to share it with all of you guys. I feel like everyone should know this story, and not just people from Texas, because there is a strong spirit and legacy that happened here at the Alamo. And so first question, have any of you guys heard of the Alamo? Or do you guys know anything? Does this picture look familiar at all? No? Okay. I figured being from different parts of the world. But so the Alamo, the Alamo was this religious sanctuary where people from Texas, so this is in Texas, in South Texas, in a town that was called San Antonio de Bexar, but now it's called San Antonio, like San Antonio. So that is what it's called now. But back then, it was called San Antonio de Bexar, and this is where people from Texas, which Texas at the time was controlled by Mexico, and so Texas was part of Mexico. So the Mexican government owned Texas and controlled it. So it wasn't a U.S. state at the time. It was just Mexican territory. And so the Alamo, this was on the Texas side, and this is where people went to pray, have church services. It was also a place of gathering. This was just the local hangout place, but it had a very special meaning to everybody. So between April 2nd, 1835 and April 21st, 1836, this was the time during the Texas Revolution when Texas wanted to become a separate state and nation from Mexico, because Mexico was being really controlling, and they had a corrupt government at the time where the president was, his name was Santa Anna, and we'll learn more about him in a minute, but he made decisions that people from Texas didn't really feel like it was the right to do, and so they wanted to be their own power. But of course, because Texas is so big, which Texas is a really big state, I don't know if you guys realize that or not, Mexico didn't want to lose control of Texas because they were so big, so they were a big power. And so of course they went to battle. They went to a war between Texas and Mexico for the revolution. And so this is what happened during that time. And so the leader for Texas was the General James Bowie, and the Mexican president was Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. Like I said, Alamo is a religious structure and camp located in South Texas, in San Antonio. So, because during the revolution, Mexico had thousands and thousands of soldiers, and Texas they were still big, but they weren't as big as the whole country of Mexico. They didn't have nearly as many soldiers or volunteers to fight as Mexico did. And so Mexico knew this, and they used this advantage to intimidate Texas, like the Texan side. And so thousands of Mexican soldiers came and took camp outside the Alamo walls. And they were there for 13 days, just drumming and playing, having fun, being really loud, and intimidating and scaring everyone inside the Alamo, which was about 150, 160 people, which included men, women, and children. It wasn't just soldiers. And so there were little kids running around, and moms, pregnant ladies. It was because that was a hangout. So that wasn't a war zone at the time until Mexico and the Mexican soldiers came and surrounded it. Because there were so many Mexican soldiers, they were easily can overtake the Alamo. The people in Texas, in the Alamo, they sent out word to ask for volunteers to come and help, because Mexico had so many soldiers and Texas did not. And so they sent out the letter but only about 100 men showed up. So in total, there are less than 300, 260 people in the Alamo, which are men, women, and children. And so after 13 days of tormenting the people inside the Alamo and scaring them, in the very early morning, it was dawn, it was still dark, Mexico and 3 waves overtook the Alamo. So they tried breaking down the walls one time, it didn't work. So they came back a second time, didn't work. Finally, the third time, they broke through the walls and they destroyed everything. They, nearly every single person was killed inside the Alamo. There were only a few survivors that surrendered, but they eventually were killed with no mercy. So everyone died in the Alamo. Every single Texan was killed. And so now, I'm gonna get ahead of myself. So these are the pictures. This is what the Alamo looked like And so this was during a battle. And so there's a lot of people here. Like here's an example of the Texans with just like regular clothes. They weren't prepared for a battle at that time. And versus the Mexican soldiers where they're all in uniform with muskets. They're all like official. And then the battle again of, you can see the Mexican soldiers overtaking. And then the top left picture, like these are all just, they're paintings of what they're imagining happened because there weren't cameras back then. So these are just like interpretations. And so the top left picture also is a recreation. But so the Alamo burned down and they destroyed it. Like you can tell the difference between the pictures. Since the destruction and murder of everyone in the Alamo, they have rebuilt it. And now it still stands in Texas, in San Antonio, as a symbol of courage and determination of everyone inside and what everyone had to go through. And so like we were saying earlier that you can definitely feel like this, you can feel a sweet spirit there, knowing what happened. It was very tragic and sad, but the Alamo was a turning point for the Texas Revolution. And so because of what happened here and the ruthless murder of all the Texans done by Santa Anna and his soldiers, this resulted in the aiding of the United States coming and helping Texas, because Texas wasn't part of the United States at the time. So the United States came and helped them, and also people from other places, other parts of Texas that weren't interested in fighting at the time until this happened. And so they all came together, and exactly 1 month later, Texas defeated Mexico in a battle that only lasted 18 minutes. So because of the determination, and they wanted revenge. They wanted revenge for their families and friends that were murdered in the Alamo, because it essentially was a slaughter. It was not equal at all. And so because of that determination that they had behind them, they beat Mexico in 18 minutes, ending the whole revolution. So Texas was free from Mexico. So the Alamo today stands as a symbol and reminder of courage and determination. And there's this saying that goes, remember the Alamo, where, so our friends and family, not necessarily related to us, but at least in Texas, we all see each other as united as one, especially within the gospel, also here, or like anywhere in the world. You have this connection, and the Alamo unites everyone, and we want to share the story of the Alamo with everyone, that even though you're scared or you feel helpless and bad things happen to you, there's always a greater good, that not everything may seem like it's working out at the time, but if you're not in a good place right now, you know that's not the end, because the end, everything will be good. so if you're not in a good situation right now, then you know that's not the end point. And so we want to share the story of the Alamo with everyone that provides hope and courage. And inside the Alamo, before the whole battle took place, the general that I mentioned earlier, he told everyone what was going to happen because they knew eventually they were going to be overtaken and they weren't going to stand a chance. And so he gave everyone an out. If you want, he drew a line on the ground actually, and he said, if you want to stand and defend our nation, our country that they're trying to build, then cross this line and join me. And if you don't, then stay on this side of the line. And so everyone crossed over to protect, so no one left. And I think it's especially awesome because my mom, she ended up serving her mission in the San Antonio mission. And her very first day in San Antonio, her mission president took all of the missionaries to the Alamo, and he asked them the same thing. If you're willing to defend our religion and preach to others and help them gain this new knowledge that'll eventually, it'll make them happy in eternal life, and cross this line and join me. And so I think with that line and the courage and determination, it affects everyone, not just us Texans, not the people in the Alamo, but everyone. So we all have to remember the Alamo and work hard to honor the people that were in there. And so, like I said, they're courageous. And I want to show you this clip. So, the Alamo was made into a movie. So everything that happened was made into a movie. And this is just like a 3-minute video of the general, like I explained, giving the...
Tony Nissan is the only Nissan dealership in Hawaii to offer a lifetime warranty when you...
Texas has been a second chance for me. I expect that might be true for many of you as well. It has been a chance not only for land and riches, but also to be a different man. I hope a better one. There have been many ideas brought forth in the past few months of what Texas is and what it should become. We are not all in agreement. But I'd like to ask each of you what it is you value so highly that you are willing to fight and possibly die for. We will call that Texas. The Mexican army hopes to lure us into a tempting escape. Almost anything seems better than remaining in this place, penned up. If, however, we force the enemy to attack, I believe every one of you will prove himself worth 10 in return. We will not only show the world what patriots are made of, but we will also deal a crippling blow to the army of Santa Ana.
If anyone wishes to depart, under the white flag of surrender, you may do so now. You have that right.
But if you wish to stay here with me in the Alamo, we will sell our lives dearly.
because Mexico did give them a chance. They announced that anyone that wanted to surrender, they would let them leave without being killed. And that's what General Bowie was explaining. But like you saw, no one chose to leave. They wanted to stand and defend what they thought was right. And yeah, so now this is like a group discussion. So there's only 3 of you, but I want you to, well, first of all, write on the paper that I passed out to you, what does courage mean to you? I'll just give you about 30 seconds. Just something quick, simple. What does having courage, or what does courage mean to you? About 5 more seconds. Okay, it's done. Okay, now you can write it down on your paper, or you can just think to yourself, but if you're in this situation, would you have stayed and helped, or would you have left when given the chance? And we can also apply this to a different question. Is there something in your life that is worth fighting for you and not giving up? So like your family, your friends, the gospel, just anything, you can write it down. And like, what are you willing to defend? What are you willing to put your life down for? And then just share with each other what you're willing to defend and what courage means to you. Because that's what the Alamo is. Even though it was devastating and so sad, this had to happen for bigger and better things to come. And so they were all courageous, and they knew what they were giving up, but they also knew what was going to happen in the future, or they had hope for bigger and brighter things, because they didn't know. They were just putting their faith. They had faith. They had extreme faith. And so the Alamo is essentially a symbol of courage and faith. And so can you just discuss with each other what courage means to you and what you would have done in this situation, or if there's something that you would sacrifice or put first, or nothing.
So, to me, courage means like a desire or willing to do something. And for me, like, as I watched the video, I would like willing and standing with a guy to defend life or something.
To me, like, courage, it means how to conquer my fears. But there's a lot of things so challenging that I'm so scared. But if I have courage, I know everything will be okay if I take the chance and face it. Like, there's a lot of situations in our lives like that. So just take a step and face the situation, and that is courage.
Yeah. So, courage, I look at courage as, kind of the inner power that you have to face the challenges, the difficulties, So it's like a special force, maybe the force that you have within you. Maybe you can call fight, to face, difficulties, challenges. And so in that case, man, for me, I would prefer to stay and fight because I love my family, my religion. Yeah.
These are all good. So, like I explained, I just want to reiterate like how important the Alamo is to me and basically everyone that knows about it. So I hope it becomes a symbol of importance and courage to you guys as well. And it's a symbol of courage that even when times are tough, that if you have courage and faith, things will work out at the end. So like the scripture keeps coming up in my head, have I not commanded thee, be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. And so I feel like we need to remember the Alamo and share the story with everyone from throughout the world, how important this is, and the symbols, all the symbols it comes with, and it represents. And it's in San Antonio, in Texas, so I would encourage everyone to go and visit it sometime in their life and learn more about the story. Yeah, so